Hi, I'm Dallas. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for your visit. If you're here, you either know me or you've seen a few of the clips or information that I'm sharing about an art project that I'm doing in Salt Lake City. It's going to be a large-scale project, outdoor, environmental, and sculptural in nature. It's also going to be a game. And I began this process a few weeks ago, and this is one of the videos in a continuation of a weekly reflection on what's happened in the last week. And in each of these videos, I want to cherry pick perhaps a few topics that were actual things that happened that I just want to reflect on, and maybe for myself just have them documented somewhere. And I also think that they might be pieces that if and when in your own creative pursuits, as you look and find interesting projects or are in that wheel of constant learning in the space of what your creative pursuits are, maybe just some of these things will help you. And I say that in a true sense, the way of sometimes when you interact or interface, or when I do, I guess I should say, with different people who problem solve in a number of different ways, it's really nice to get a refreshing approach, especially if I've been going at it or grinding at it in a different way, and suddenly I realize someone else has done it a little differently, and there's just a little more smoothness to it. So I'm not saying that I'm totally smoothing it out for you at all. I just think that in the space of genuine sharing, I would love to share with you the things that are lighting me up, the things are the wows, the things are like, well, what was that? Could I have done that better? And then also, hopefully, as we begin to install this throughout the city, you're going to be able to see it. So, welcome back. Stay here if you'd like to learn more. Today, I'm going to cover the topics of a budget meeting that I had. Pitch is an application for deck sharing, and then what's the third thing I'm going to share? I don't know. We'll have it be a surprise, whatever's coming up for me. But if you'd like to hear a little bit more about each of those topics, what I've learned by doing those in this process, please stay on. And as always, would welcome your thoughts and feedbacks below. And perhaps you can still help me refine my process as I keep moving ahead. All right. The first thing that I'd like to share with you is that I had a really significant budget meeting. Now, typically, I'm not one who warms to the word budget right off. It's never been my strong suit. I'm not even saying that I'm typecast as a creative or artist, right? But it's just never come really naturally to me. It's not ever been a space I've curated. I actually see people who budget or who are just excellent at it, and I bow to them. I think it's a fantastic skill to develop because it's also a very realistic idea of like how to continue to exist in this world and go after things or have goals financially or in the scope of projects, and budgets help you get there. That being said, I'm not like, I know how to budget, but I haven't ever budgeted for something to this scale and kind of in a way like this public. So the budget is a big deal to me. And what is it? Well, first of all, me and my team, the city team, they want me to come up with a general budget of what I think it's going to be to carry this whole thing off. Right now, the project stands that I want to create 10 massive scale sculptural pieces. These will be made out of a 1/2 inch to 3/4 wood plywood, and then they're going to be wrapping around buildings, simply due to the fact that they're so big. And they're going to be attached to buildings or very close to it. This kind of thing is going to take some money, some substantial money. And even going into the project with the amount of money that I've been awarded, I knew that this wasn't going to be able to cover the project in its entirety. But still, shooting for 10 pieces and then trying to figure out as best I can what are those costs that will get me there. Definitely there's just the hard costs of the materials, right? Secondly, what about installation? Third, what about personnel, like people who are actually helping me besides me, people whose skill sets I need to hire in order to do certain things to help me achieve this. Also, what about studio space? What about storage? These are all things that are costly. Many times in art, in the space of making or creation, material costs are definitely a thing that are very easy fruit to pick and say like, oh, this is how much it costs. But then the installation, the storage, the transportation, all those things come into play, especially with larger scale art. Now, I don't have some big institution that is, supporting me 1,000%, and they're just throwing tons of money at me. I don't have some I'm not a trust fund person that's just can pull money out of thin air. This is a real significant piece, but I'm also intending to fundraise a lot of it because I just know it's going to take more money than what was awarded to me. So getting the budget nailed down was significant, and luckily, and this is where I think one of the key points, I hired someone who's really good at making budgets. In fact, just all around, they can do it. But the tool they use too, which this person used, Google Sheets. And I know enough to know Google Sheets and Excel are like really strong tools due to computation and systems involved. And they are an expert at that. Now, I'm going to tell you my first win here is that I already had a relationship to this person and I can trust them. She's on my team. Her name's Annalise. She is a whiz-bang at this. I gave a certain amount of hours to myself to try to get some of these figured out. And then I was just like, you know what? She's already on my team. I'm going to be paying her for some time. Why don't I just have her help me do it? Because beyond me spending my hours doing something that I'm not highly proficient in, why don't I pay someone and have them do what they're really good at to help me? I love this general principle anyway. And unfortunately, all of us aren't just, abundantly rich and can pay for every single service. But when it is affordable or when it's strategically smart to as we assess our time and where we're using it, that's why we should and can hire those people who are specialists in their area. And Annalise is that in this area. And it was also a really great opportunity for me to get outside eyes looking at what I'm doing and trying to make sense of it. She has my back. She's in it to help me. She wants this project to succeed. And she can also bring a certain lens of maybe things I'm not thinking about or expenses that haven't really filtered up yet or suggestions of, buffering. Let's say it requires this much right now, even though our numbers say this much. So going through that, it took us 2 hours and we did it virtually. And she was able to create a really solid budget for this project that gave me a lot of confidence and also creates that scaffolding so that then I know where I can move at least more fully and more independently moving ahead with this project. What are times that you've learned that you really needed a budget or that someone came through and helped you see something in a new light? Also, what kind of budgeting software do you use? Is there anything particular that you've found helpful, maybe even specifically for project-related budgets like this? I would be curious and welcoming to know what those are. But the the budget, we also, as part of the budget, we also created a sort of tiering for the potential patrons or sponsors or partners of people that may want to help me create this art. And that was another really, aha sort of moment. And I won't lay all the details here, but basically we found there's 4 tierings. We nailed out which each of those tiers would receive and what the exchange was, the mutuality, and then it gave me again another sort of confidence. So as I go into production mode and fabrication mode, and I'm going to be intersecting with people more, very specific parts of the project that people can jump on and support. So the budget and this budgeting meeting was high level and great. It also got really specific and nitty gritty into like paint. How much does this kind of paint cost versus this bucket of paint? How much paint is going to go per each animal? Dallas, do you have all those colors decided yet or not? How much do we think? What about transportation? And what about people's time if we need to hire them to go do this or that? Now this budget is this great starting space for me to allocate when and what I can do, and also very easily, clearly talk to people that I'm either hiring or who are supporting me to say like, oh, we can only do this much or we can do this much, so that it also creates a sense of ease so that those investing themselves with the project or with me hopefully have they're just not as pressured, right? So that we have a clear boundary of where we're working. All right, that's a little bit about budgeting. That's up for this week and what happened. I thought it was really great. Please let me any other thoughts you have on that. All right, the second thing that I'm going to be talking about today is the software pitch. No, this is not sponsored by Pitch. Maybe eventually. Actually, I would love to show you the actual pitch deck that I created that won me the partnership. Why I decided to use that tool versus, like, say, PowerPoint or Max. What's Max? I don't even know. I don't use the Apple product equivalent. But because of a team that I've worked with in the past, that they use this and they saw some real nice tools within it, I began to use it a little more, and I found that Pitch was a fantastic tool for me to use. And what is that exactly? Well, number one, I used it to create the deck when I applied for this partnership. Now, they didn't ask that we create a deck. They didn't ask that I, create a presentation. But I've been around the block enough. I've worked in design and art in building projects that it's really nice to have something to go back to, especially when you're seeking support from people either for funding or just general interest. It's so good to have this deck to go back to. So I took the deck that I won the art partnership with, and then I just did a little tweaking to it. And I, basically copied it, made another one, and then began to treat this deck as the one that I'm going to send out to people after I talk to them. As a reminder, I'm going to send this out to people before I talk to them to say, hey, if you're able to review this before I come in, it'd be great. It would just give you the project, the scope at a really personal level. Now, did it take some time to get this ready? Well, of course it did. It took a lot of time to fine tune and for myself to get really clear on what was it about this project that I wanted to get across. What are the three points to this topic that I really want to settle in with people? Or it's the whole idea of like, how do you condense an entire scope of something down to just a few words? That's going to have to happen anyway. Whether you use Pitch or PowerPoint or some other presentation, you're going to have to get your the thing that you're making, you're going to have to bring it down to a level or in a way to portray it that is beyond just you being in front of people. especially if you're hoping to get a wide scope of people and interest. So pitch, I thought, was really good because, number one, you can the manipulation of the tools is pretty easy, especially if you're a designer and used to like InDesign or Illustrator. It's fairly intuitive, although there are some limitations, but generally it's pretty solid. The second thing is that it has a link. You can share this via a link, which will then, so you don't have to use a PDF. You can, but you don't have to. But so you can just send a link to someone and then they will be brought to your presentation. So that's a really nice, easy way to get this information out there versus, again, printing off a PDF or expecting them to like look at a physical PDF. The digital sharing of this is a really nice piece about how pitch was designed and what it's intended for. The third thing, right, is that it helps you really boil down what your project's about in the simplest terms. It allows you to use your own marketing and brand of whatever you're using, and to really start imbuing the ethos and the environment of what you're hoping your project's going to produce. So it gets to be that space. And then the thing that really I thought was a really good sell for this product was it has a recording function. Yeah, so like a video recording function that is embedded in the deck that will pop up and talk, or you put play and then that video will talk on that page of whatever your viewer is looking at. That to me right now is a real strong reason to use this thing. And the reason I think it is because it makes it very personal. That I could actually do individual recordings per whatever group person that I'm going to see, and then just have this little recording of me all throughout the pitch deck. I could make it that specific if I wanted to, which is just incredible. So that's a real get. The second thing is that what I decided to record and share is just like a very personal version of me. I'm not trying to be something else. I looked okay, but the background wasn't just like this incredible space. I did it in my home. It looks fine. It looks good, but it also shows a certain personalness. Now, we could go at it saying like, oh, if you had a very professional looking thing, maybe people would look at you more or differently. But for my intents and what I'm doing, and I'm going to mostly be going and working with people that I already know, what's mostly important is that I record a very personal mirror of myself to them. And I did that with this pitch deck. And I obviously watched it through, and the camera slipped a couple times. I laughed a bit, a couple ums and ahs. I didn't hope it wasn't in there, but generally it delivers. It gives the tone and the vibe of who I am. It gives the essence of what I hope is the trust that I'm going to build with people anyway, of why they would want to work with me. And I think that bit is really important. That is super important. So that instead of me just shipping off this deck and just like hoping they read it and being in whatever headspace they're in, this little tool, this recording tool embedded in it, allows me to already kind of move into the space. Like a lot of us are consuming video content anyway. Plus, if they already know me, it's going to be more persuasive that way. And I can kind of talk them through each talking point on the page. It's fantastic. I think it's actually, it's worth doing this little video and pitching about and to share with you, because I think it would actually be a really good tool as you are considering taking your project and needing to pitch it. This product pitch, I think it's just pitch.com. I think you can sign up for, I should have looked that up, but I think the memberships are free for a certain amount, and then you can upgrade a bit. But it's a great tool overall to use for project envisioning, and then project sharing and information sharing. The fact that you can personalize it with that video, stellar. Have you used Pitch before, or what do you use for presentations? Especially if you come from a design background and communications background. What have been the strengths and weaknesses that you've seen from that? Also really curious if you've used the actual video function, along with it. I'd love to know if it's been positive for you or negative, either way. But I would just love to learn what you learned. I think lastly, at some point, I'd love to share my pitch deck with you and what I did and why. We could just do it from a communication standpoint. We could also look at as far as the branding components, because I am actually now pulling some of those branding components when I made the initial pitch for the project. Now I'm pulling those over and into everything I'm making. So it even helped me land on the branding of what I'm doing for my project. All right. So I think that's probably enough about pitch, probably enough about budget, but these are really two powerful tools that I am experiencing right now that are going to allow me to get this project into the space that I want in a really, in the most true way possible. And yeah, I'm really excited about that. Thanks for spending your time with me. Thanks for sharing a moment with me on the channel. If you liked it, I'm super happy, and I hope I'll send good vibes your way. Please let me know of any other things that within the scope of these things that I may have shared that you know about. Please relay them back to me. And I'll also try to put any resources that I may have come up with down below in the description. But until next week, I'm going to wish you well, and going to keep racing towards this project, which is going to make Salt Lake City into an absolutely amazing place. Thanks again. Talk to you soon. Bye.